Welcome to this week's edition of Universal Parenting Clinic. On this show today, I'll be discussing the necessity of communication in parenting. Maintain effective communication with your child. In every relationship, communication is a vital requirement towards enjoying perfect understanding and effective coexistence. You must be ready to communicate effectively with your child. There are different methods of communication, such as non-verbal, verbal oral, face-to-face visual communication techniques. Regardless of which method you adopt on each occasion, ensure you are maintaining effective communication line that can easily be understood and which will pass the message across clearly and effectively. Communication should start very early in parenting, and it remains a constant and vital part of parenting. Without it, parenting will be a disaster. So, learn the art of effective communication with your child. You will need to develop the correct communication skills necessary for each stage of a child's growth. The communication needed for 2 weeks old baby is different from that of a year-old baby. And the communication line with a 5-year-old child will be different from that of those above 15 years and definitely different from those above 20 years. Communication is vital, not just for now, but till your last breath. Even when that child becomes a graduate, a successful worker, a multimillionaire, a pastor, the president or prime minister, still maintain constant, effective communication with that child. Just as you must be a praying parent over your child till your last breath, so also you must never allow a gap in communication between you and your child from the first day he or she was born till the last day you have your last breath. Praying for your child will never fail and can never expire. Same as your communication. Your network of communication must never suffer failure or dead battery. You should always stay connected with your child. Regardless of your vocation or your commitments, be you the president or a clerk, a businessman, a business lady, a director of a conglomerate, a technician or footballer, don't allow your schedule to alter your communication with your child. Leave no room for the devil to sneak in. The fact is clear. If you don't communicate with your child, others will communicate negatively with that child. Boredom and loneliness could have multiple devastating effects on your child. Lack of effective communication could also drive your child away from you while he or she is seeking for attention from others outside or through the social media. With proper communication, you are able to pass messages and instructions across, and your child is more comfortable to share his feelings and concerns with you. It promotes trust, relationships, and enhances confidence too. If you must know, the devil sneaked in to deceive Eve at a moment when she was alone and without the opportunity to communicate effectively with her partner and God. Give no room for breakdown in communication between you and your child. Discuss his or her daily activities. Ask about his or her worries and challenges too. Ask about happenings in his or her work and social life. Constant dialogue at intervals and at every possible moment when you are not together. Don't be invisible at home, and don't allow social media, friends, or work deny you time to communicate with your child. Failure to communicate effectively has brought tears to several parents, and I think you can do without that. In the process of my findings on this project, I discovered that one of the reasons why some children of the successful and wealthy parents turn out to be irresponsible can be traced to lack of effective communication. Many parents nowadays are just too busy to maintain decent communication with their children is either due to business commitments or social engagements. Some parents will also rather stay glued to their television set, watching movies, or their phone, chatting with their online friends, instead of using precious moments discussing with their children. Many parents would also place more priority to attending social functions, movies, parties, and bars over spending time discussing with their children. In recent times, most children spend the major part of their time in school, hostels, on their phone, with their friends, house help, and on their own. Many children are thus neglected to paddle their own canoe with little or no regular communication between them and their parents. Some parents are also just too tired moving from one work to another in this challenging world, such that maintaining regular communication at home is impossible. There are numerous moments in the life of every child, however, when closed-door one-to-one open communication between parent and son or daughter becomes mandatory to discuss things of the heart. Moments when intimacy and undiluted concentrations are necessary to drive messages home. This part of parenting responsibility cannot be delegated, so you must be prepared and ready if you don't want your parenting journey to end in tears and tales of woes. There are different stages of communication with children. Communication that feeds kids from infancy. Communication with children when going to school. Communication on corrections. Communication on morals. Communication with things. Communication for future roles. Communication to address instant and future challenges. Communication on some of the topics that will still be discussed on this program. Communication to warn or advise. Communication that comes at the spur of the moment with no plan. And also, scheduled regular communication on daily teachings. There is required communication necessary for children who are failing and specialized communication lines with children who are succeeding. Specialized communication for children who are preparing to stay away from home. Reasonable communication necessary for your adult who is now a graduate and those who are married. You can't afford to get it wrong. Just as lack of communication can destroy the life of a child, wrong communication can also ruin the future of any child. There is communication sense that perfectly fits your grandchildren, and there is that system of communication that you need when a child is exhibiting the wrong behaviors. What you need to say to a child that is into drug will be different from your approach when dealing with that child who is not serious with his studies. Your moments of discussion with a child with mental health issues is different from how you discuss with a mere disobedient child. As you will see when I discuss the topic on parenting children with disability and sickness, there is a set pattern that you may have to adopt in discussing with children with learning difficulties and those with other disabilities. Please, find time to communicate with your child. You will need to communicate in the early hours, and you will need to communicate in the day. Both of these should not prevent your communication with that child at night and at other moments in life. You also have the phone at your disposal too. There should be no end to communication between parents and their children. There are different approaches and techniques depending on where, to who, and purpose. There were times while growing when all my father needed to do was to look at me straight in the eyes, and I knew what he wanted in the midst of a crowd. Moments when he gave me a quick wink or a sharp, quick glance with no other person that will be able to see or interpret. But between the two of us, I could write a whole page on what he meant by such 1 second glance. which also depend on the sharpness, the look, the circumstances, the prevailing mood and atmosphere. I dare not get the message wrong too, but 99% of times they did me lots of good. The truth, however, is that such understanding level doesn't come by mere wish. It's a set standard developed over a period of certain communication pattern consistently and continuously. Even when he laughed, I knew when not to take his laughter on mere face value, because it may be a clue to an action or a command to act rightly and not stupidly. We got to a level where he didn't need to speak loudly or even speak at all. In some cases, if he needed to spell it out when I should know, that could bring the shaking of head, and I understood the consequences. Those days seem gone now for most families. Even when parents shout, speak, and point, children are left lost, wondering what they are being asked to do. Please start communication early, and the language will be clearer and better understood. As he or she grows, there will be no stress in communication. But if you don't communicate now, you may communicate more with tears later. Communicate while walking. Communicate while working. Communicate while sitting. Communicate while standing. Communicate while lonely. Communicate when you are in the midst of a crowd. Communicate before returning to bed. Communicate when young. Communicate when you are old. No matter what you do and where you may be, learn to communicate. Once again, I say to you parents out there, maintain effective daily and regular communication with your child or children. Thanks to the several thousands of you who already joined our Facebook page as friends, and those who already subscribed to our YouTube channel, and those of you who regularly forward our videos to others. My special appreciation goes to those of you who already bought the book, Parenting Without Tears. That's the show this week on Universal Parenting Clinic. I believe strongly that through this Universal Parenting Clinic, and with proper understanding of the book, Parenting Without Tears, together, we all can promote wellness in families and in the world. We can stop the tears from children, parents, and families. We can kick racism, fraud, incivility, corruption, wickedness, several addictions, violence, and the series of antisocial behaviors out of all families and the whole world. And at the same time, we can promote all the positive desires and aspirations towards the well-being of the children, parents, and the world at large. Till I come your way again next week, I am the parenting advocate in the house, Michael Benga Bibilari, MGB, Mr. Parenting. Maintain effective communication in parenting. Think parenting. Talk parenting. Be passionate about parenting. Don't just be a parent. Stop posturing. Be a real parent. A parent indeed. Parent well.